Thanks for joining us here on ANF Plus. I'm Joy Lim-Nakrin, and I want to let you know you're looking live here at the state capitol. We are waiting for remarks to begin at any moment now. This is regarding school safety months after the Apalachee High School shooting. Let me go ahead and bring up the volume and let's listen in. Noah. All right, looks like there's just still a little bit of setup that is being done right now, but you can see this is inside the state capitol. Again, today marks 5 months since police say a teenage student carried out a shooting inside of Apalachee High School. Remember, we all remember, I think, that tragic day where 2 students and 2 teachers were killed, 9 others were taken to the hospital. So what you're seeing now this morning, high school students from Apalachee High, their parents, local leaders, advocates, all gathering there at the state capitol. They're demanding more to be done to protect students. And this comes as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle propose a number of new measures to keep schools safe.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So the first thing I want to do...
Let's listen in. Oh, okay. Looks like we're having a little bit of a connection.
...of the House, John Burns, for laying out some of his legislative priorities yesterday regarding school safety. Like Speaker Burns, I recognize that the events at Apalachee High School exactly 5 months ago today, the deadliest school shooting in the history of Georgia, has taken an issue already at the top of mind for many families in this state and thrust it to the fore. I commend his sensitivity and his willingness to work across the aisle on solutions to keep our communities safe. However, of all the voices at the Speaker's press conference yesterday, I did notice some missing. And those were the voices of the students and their families who were at Apalachee High School on September 4th of 2024. We are going to hear from some of them today. And we're going to listen to what they need from those of us who work here in this building and what substantive reforms are required to ensure that tragedies like this never happen again. So without any further ado, I'm honored to introduce Layla Renee Contreras.
Good morning. My name is Layla Renee Contreras, and I am here today not just as an advocate, but as a member of a community that has been forever changed. 5 months ago today, on September 4th, 2024, I got the call no one ever wants to receive. There was a shooting at my alma mater, Apalachee High School. My mom and my sister were inside. That day, we lost Christian Angulo, Mason Schermerhorn, Christina Aramy, and Ricky Aspinwall. Our community was changed forever. Since that moment, our community has been clear. School safety cannot be about how we respond to a tragedy. It must be about preventing it from ever happening in the first place. That is why I want to recognize Speaker John Burns and Republican leadership for introducing a comprehensive school safety plan. The steps in this plan, threat management teams, anonymous reporting, and increased student mental health resources are necessary. These are real investments in keeping schools safer, and I appreciate the leadership it took to bring them forward. But we have been saying for 5 months that we cannot only be reactive. We must be proactive, and that brings me to what is still missing from this plan. We cannot talk about school safety without talking about how firearms are stored and accessed. That is why Representative Dr. Michelle Au has introduced the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Bill, because a 14-year-old should never be able to bring a gun into Apalachee High School. Speaker Burns' plan focuses on what happens once a firearm is already in school. Dr. Au's bill ensures that firearms are secured so they don't get there in the first place. One without the other is incomplete. Right now, the safety plan includes tax incentives for safe storage, but incentives alone will not prevent another tragedy. We don't just encourage parents to put their babies in a car seat. It's the law. We don't just recommend seatbelts. We expect to wear them because they save lives. Firearm safety should be no different. This is about gun safety. It is about ensuring that children do not gain access to unsecured firearms. It is about responsibility. It is about prevention, because no family should have to endure what Barrow County has been through. This moment is bigger than just us standing here today. Soon after this press conference, students at Apalachee High School, my sister, will be walking out of their classrooms. They're walking out because they deserve better. Our students and teachers deserve to feel safe in their schools. They are standing in solidarity with the countless of other communities that have suffered tragedies like our own. And they are standing for themselves because they know their safety should never be up for debate. We all want safer schools. That is something we can all agree on. This is not about politics. This is about achieving meaningful, tangible change. This is the time for Democrats and Republicans to come together, to serve our communities, and to prioritize the safety of our future. If our students, our children, are willing to stand up and demand better, then we should be able to stand with them. They're asking us to act, and we owe it to them to do everything in our power to make sure no other community suffers what Barrow County has endured. This is not just about one press conference. This is not just one walkout. It is a movement that will not stop until real change happens. We have spent months demanding action, demanding that our leaders recognize that school safety does not start at the classroom door. It starts with prevention. But no one understands this better than the students who lived through this tragedy. No one understands this better than my friend Isabel, a senior at Apalachee High School who was inside Coach Aspinwall's classroom the moment our school was changed forever. And no one carries this loss more personally than Christian Angula's brother, Junior, who is here with us today. I want you to hear Isabel's story. I want you to understand why we are here today, because when she speaks for those who will never forget. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Isabel Trejo, and I'm a senior at Apalachee High School. On September 4th, 2024, I was sitting in Coach Aspinwall's statistical reasoning class, focused on studying for an upcoming test. It felt like any other school day. I rushed to get to school on time. I sat through first period, and I went to second period, hoping that the study guide would be straightforward. But around 10:20 a.m., everything changed. The shooting started. The minutes that followed felt like an eternity. The smartboard flashed the words, "hard lockdown," and panic set in. My classmates and I rushed to the wall furthest from the door. I huddled under a desk, mentally preparing myself for the shooter to come into my open classroom and start firing. After the shooting stopped, we barricaded the door. We made phone calls to our loved ones. We held each other, hoping, praying. And in that moment, I felt responsible. I still do. Many of us do. I sat there frozen, terrified, unable to move, unable to help. If I had moved, if I had tried, I might have been next. No student or teacher should ever have to feel responsible for rendering life-saving aid to an injured person. Soon after the shooting stopped, law enforcement arrived. My classmates begged them to help us, help Coach A. Eventually, we were told to exit the classroom and go across the hall. I sat in a dark corner, holding my friend's hand, trying to control my breathing, trying to process what had just happened. When we were told to exit the building, I stepped into a smoke-filled hallway, hands raised above my heads, and I broke down sobbing. I searched for my loved ones, desperate to know that they were safe. Months later, I still wrestle with the questions that haunt me. Did that really happen? Why was he allowed access to that weapon? What if another child gains access to an unsecured firearm? What if this happens again? It does not have to happen again. In the wake of our shooting, our community showed up for us, and their support has been essential for so many students and teachers. Now it's time for our state legislators to show up. Yesterday, Speaker of the House, John Burns, announced a comprehensive school safety bill. I want to recognize and applaud that movement towards ensuring safety in our schools. I am here today to strongly urge our representatives to pass the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act, not only to honor the 4 lives lost and the thousands impacted by the shooting at Apalachee, but to prevent further tragedies in Georgia schools. This bill is not about control, it's about gun safety. It promotes the secure storage of firearms and ensures that parents and guardians are held accountable when a student gains access to a gun under their supervision. The shooting at my school was a direct result of a child obtaining an unsecured firearm in his household. Although the school safety bill aims to protect children in schools, we must also have safe storage bills in place to prevent further tragedies. This tragedy could have been prevented if safe storage laws had been in place. Our state representatives have a clear opportunity to make sure that no other students, teachers, or families in Georgia have to endure what we have endured. No child should ever have to learn how to survive a mass shooting. No student should have to run from gunfire in their own classroom, and no family should have to grieve the loss of their child, sibling, or parent because of preventable violence. Our elected lawmakers have a responsibility to serve and protect the people of Georgia. Passing the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act is one crucial step towards making our schools safer. We have already lost too much. We can't afford to wait any longer. We need action now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Isabel and Talela. I want to note how brave these young people are in coming in to speak with us today about something that is clearly still so raw. And you know, with the pace of today's world and the 24-hour news cycle, it can sometimes feel, even after immense tragedy like this, that even after a short amount of time, the world moves on. But the families of Apalachee and Barrow County have not moved on. And we owe it to them to give this issue the attention and the work it deserves, even in an environment where the challenges to progress seem daunting. In other words, those of us who work in this building now need to be as brave as these students and families are. I think it's impossible to hear about the events of September 4th and overlook one key detail, and that is that the shooter was only 14 years old. One reasonable question to ask is, how could a 14-year-old get access unsupervised to a gun? And a second reasonable question to ask is, how can we prevent this from happening in the future? I think this issue and the issue of gun safety needs to be this House's top priority, which is why I filed HB 1. HB 1, the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act, simply requires that any gun that can be accessed by a minor be stored securely. Because it's not enough to punish after that unsecured gun has been used in commission of a crime. The goal needs to be prevention. The goal needs to be creating a culture, an expectation of what responsible gun ownership looks like. Even conservative states like Texas and Florida, I'm going to say that again, even states like Texas and Florida have stronger secure storage laws than Georgia does. It is possible to do better, and it is unforgivable not to try. So my ask is simple. Let HB 1, the bipartisan Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act, come to a committee hearing and a vote before crossover day. Do the hard thing. Be as brave as these families have been in coming to speak to you. And give this issue and the families of Apalachee and Barrow County the respect that they deserve. And now I'd like to open up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Right there. We have spoken to Republicans about this bill for many years. You may remember the Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act was first filed last term, and I'm proud to note that this bill, after many years of work, is explicitly a bipartisan bill. I will have people look at the list of sponsors, and my co-lead sponsor is a Republican who cares deeply about children's health. We hope that with this renewed attention to the issue, that we can move this bill further along than it has in the past. Michelle. I'll let some of the families speak to that as well, but you know, I was at Speaker Burns' press conference yesterday. I applaud his attention to school safety. I think it's at the top of mind for everyone. I think the package is fine. I agree with a lot of aspects of it, especially with respect to increasing resources for schools, increasing attention to mental health. However, I think it's a notable omission to have a package like this that does not directly deal with gun violence prevention. Right? It is a conspicuous omission, given the inciting incident that brought this attention in the first place. Elder, do you have anything? Any other questions? Hearing none, what I'm going to say is that the families and community members from Barrow County and Apalachee will be available if you have any longer conversations you would like to have with them. We're going to pull them off to the side because we do have a time limit here, but thank you all for being here. I applaud your attention to the Bipartisan Pediatric Health Safe Storage Act. Again, that number is HB 1. Thank you all for being here.
Wonderful. Thank you. Was I loud enough? I wanted to make sure everyone.
You were great. You were great. There's a lot of background, but
Yeah.
they can hear you going
Okay.
forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So y'all did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Yes, Layla Renee Contreras, yeah. Yes, she's a junior, yes. Yeah, she's at AHS right now.
So you've been listening live there to that press conference at the state capitol, where obviously parents, students, teachers, very passionate about school safety following the Apalachee High School shooting, which took place some 5 months ago. Of course, taking issue with some of the legislation just introduced, and calling for even more to be done to keep students, teachers, and school communities safe. 5 months after the Apalachee High School shooting. We have much more on AtlantaNewsFirst.com and also by downloading our free mobile news app. Now back to Local News Live.